Welcome to the Breaking Average podcast, the podcast designed to challenge you to break the mold that average has on the world. Each episode offers insights directly from those who choose to break average every day. Now for the latest insights, here are your hosts, Paul Gustafson and Barry Smith.
Welcome to the Breaking Average podcast. I'm here with Barry Smith. We finally get to do this, man. This is going to be fun.
Real fun.
We picked our top 10, right? You picked 5, I picked 5. Top 10 impact moments in sports. And we're going to start with the first one. We're going to have fun with it, even though one of us picked, like you picked the next one next week that we're going to do. But for today, we start with the one that I picked first. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this, brother.
Let's have some fun with this, guys. So lean in, guys. Wherever you're at, whether you're listening or watching, just enjoy this. We're going to have some fun taking these sports moments and the impacts they have. We drafted an amazing list. We're starting with the 1982 National Championship, March 29th, 1982. It was Georgetown as the front runner, supposed to win it, against the North Carolina Tar Heels. Two great coaches. And we're dating ourselves because I remember that game. I remember watching that game and just being glued to the television. One of my favorite all-time national championships I've ever seen. And I've seen some good ones, but that was one of my favorites. Memories, thoughts that you have from that moment?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Isn't it interesting that as we are recording this, we just got through the first weekend of March Madness, right? And I've been thinking about this, just watching the games and the players and the coaches and the families. There's just so much there. Some of the commentary, and I forget, there's like 4 different networks going through games, but Candace Parker played for Pat Summitt at Tennessee. Incredible female college basketball player and pro, and her thoughts, of course you got Barkley in there all the time. And we were just kind of looking before we got ready to go. And Barkley came into the league right around that same time too. So you just look at the way things have changed over time, how so many of these players have transitioned from college to pros, and the impact they've made on both sides of that transition. Certainly some college stars, get into pros and it's short-lived, but some actually improve, make a greater name for themselves. And I think Jordan, albeit a great college career, we all know what happened when he got to the Bulls. But it's just, March Madness is March Madness. And I think it really tells so much about character. I don't know how you can top it. I don't know how you can top it for the attitude, the energy, the mindset that comes into any sporting event. There's just nothing like it. I mean, these kids are out there and they want to play to compete and win, and nothing else matters. One of the commentaries last night was, or this weekend, was that, 98% of these guys, 99% of these guys, this will be the end. If it's their senior year, this will be the end of their sports career. And it's just like, wow, man. And so you can understand the emotion, the frustration, everything that goes along with it. And just watching the coaches, in this case, let's be honest, these coaches, for many of these kids, are father figures, maybe more of a father figure than they've ever had or ever will have. So there's just so many dynamics in play. And certainly, what happened with Jordan in 82 and his teammates, and how that turned into just some incredible NBA careers. Man, there's a lot to unpack here. Where are we going to start, my friend?
I know. Well,
where in the world do we start and where do we take it?
Well, let's start with that climatic moment that took place in the game, right? So think about it. He gets it to Jordan off in the corner, and Jordan drains that. I don't think they had 3-pointers, but he drains that 20-footer and makes that basket. The freshman, who was not the best player on the team at that time. He was definitely one of the starters. So there's just a few seconds left. Georgetown has a chance to just win this game. And Sleepy Floyd takes that ball and he throws the ball, not realizing that there's a Tar Heel player right there, tosses it to the wrong guy. And I forget who it was who got the ball. You had James Worthy and Sam Perkins on the Tar Heels. Georgetown had some incredible players, including Patrick Ewing as a center. So you got 4 of probably the top 50 basketball NBA. Think about it, right?
Yeah.
4 of the players on that court ended up being top 50 players in the NBA.
Hall of Famers, man.
Hall of Famers. 4. And there was others that were good too. So I'm not discrediting the skill and the talent that each of those had. They were all smart. It was a tough moment because I was kind of rooting for Georgetown, but I loved watching Jordan play, right? Because you could see the spark in him. And at that time in the ACC, you had a bunch of great schools, one being Maryland, not far from me, and they had Len Bias and Michael Jordan. And there's just talent right there. And Jordan, the freshman, right? So when you look at it, Perkins was a year older. You see Worthy, he was 2 years older. So he was the youngest guy on that team, and he drains that basket. And it's an amazing story when you think about the fact that 3 years earlier, Barry, he couldn't even make the high school varsity team.
But Mama got in the way.
But Mama. Let's talk about Mama. Share a little bit about that. I mean, you got something right there.
It's just, it's just another one of those stories, right? We see them all the time in all kinds, especially college sports. She just got in the middle of her boy and said, look, what do you want to do? And if you want to do it, don't let anybody tell you can't. You get out there and you find a way and you make it happen and you work harder than everybody else and get it done. And he did. This whole idea of mindset. Again, you and I are going through the book Mindset right now, Carol Dweck.
Yeah.
And the competitive level of these top athletes, my personal feeling, they're all pretty close. Physically, they're all pretty close. The difference is in the mindset. And some guys, like Jordan, like Muhammad Ali, like Tiger Woods, that mental toughness, just refusing to lose, refusing to give up. All the stories of Jordan, playing when he's sick, playing when he's hurt, and yet there he is competing the highest level possible. And it's not something that I think a lot of guys can do. They can be tough. They can play. They can try and have a positive attitude. They can perform. They can push through it. But there's some guys that just have set themselves above others. And Jordan was one of them, getting cut from his high school basketball team, and his mom saying, look, don't let that coach. Mm-hmm. And I know he tells a story and I forget the name, but he actually had an opportunity to meet the guy who had that spot, who got that spot on that team. And he remembers that name. We should have dug that up. Somebody.
Oh, that's a good one.
But he met that guy. There's a story and I forget where it was in the timeline of everything, but he actually had an opportunity to meet that guy several years later. And he just, he appreciated that guy that took his place his entire career. Because if it weren't for that, Michael Jordan probably wouldn't have turned into the basketball player he was. Because that was a turning point for him, right? That was a signature moment in his career. And honestly, if you think about it, probably in his life. Look at what he's accomplished since then. We're going to get a whole nother taste of Jordan here. I think the movie Air coming out next month with Matt Damon and I forget the other guy. Ben Affleck. It looks like it's going to be good. But again, just even the trailer for it is who, what, shoes, why this guy, and all that, and to put that together. So it's going to be another legacy piece for Jordan and everything he did. But it really all started. I love how you've turned back the clock. I told a story in the last episode, my Jordan experience. But you turn the clock back, right into college days when it was all starting. And he was the young guy on the team. And he wasn't necessarily the go-to guy for the key shot and getting all that done. So it was, I think that defined him early on. And I think he built on that the rest of his career.
Yeah. It's just amazing, right? Think about that, right? Differentiation. When we talk about shoes, the differentiation there, the competitiveness and back to mama, right? You can either get bitter or you can get better, Michael.
Ah, there you go.
You get a choice. And it's what if mama is talking to each of us?
Yeah.
Because we have those bitter or better moments, every one of us. And we either going to sit back and say, oh, I guess I wasn't meant to be. Or we can say, you know what? I didn't get it, but I can go around the leaf. I can go find a way. I can get this thing done. I'm going to go work hard, get there. So he gets there. 1,000 days later, he's hitting the basket to win the national championship. And giving Dean Smith that was that Dean Smith's first national championship?
Ooh, there's a good trivia question.
I think it may have been. And also, would think about it, right? So there were other great players on that team. Matt Dougherty, I can't remember them all, but these three, though, who would you have picked? Like if it was the draft that year, who would you have picked? Worthy, Perkins, or Jordan?
Well, Worthy went one. You and I have already had the conversation on my beloved Portland Trailblazers and their inability to pick, in the draft. I won't bring the other name into it, but they did not pick Jordan, and they could have. And so certainly as a Blazer fan, it's like, oh, and it wasn't the first time they made a draft like that. I don't know. I think based on the college careers, I probably would have had to gone with Worthy. He was a force there. And he was game day. He was ready to walk in wherever he went and start and make a difference. Even as well as Jordan played, man, I'd have to go back and watch games and really get into it, because I'm not sure he was viewed as that elite of a player.
No.
It was certainly a great shot, right? Gave him a great launching pad into his NBA career. But I don't think at that time he was viewed. And one thing I love about Jordan, and I think, man, we're going to get into this with some of our other stories, is the teamwork element. As great as Jordan was, it took him a while to get that right. First title. And he really needed an elite team around him, just like they had at North Carolina. And there's other stories. I can't wait to explore this topic when we get into talking about Tom Brady. There's another guy who just made people around him better. And I don't know that Jordan was that guy in college, but I know he was that guy in the pros.
So he was the support player, right? A supporting cast. Well, Jordan was supporting cast that year in '82.
Yeah, young kid.
Worthy was the guy, and Perkins, he was player of the year before. Yep. So
well established. Hey, maybe Jordan got a little help from being in an environment conducive to growth with some great examples around him. I got to drop an environment bomb, in every episode here, but man, look around, look at what's going on right now. You look at some of the team dynamics, just players playing so well together. I just love college basketball. Yeah. March Madness is just something special about it. You can kind of see it in some of the other college sports, but college basketball, there's just something special about the whole dynamic of players, the team, the coaches. Man, so many leadership lessons in that sport, and just life lessons. And to be honest, and these are all kids. We forget that.
Yeah,
these kids are your kids are younger, but they're all well younger than my kids are. And man, just getting started in life. So it's a lot of pressure in there.
Yeah. Here's what's interesting. Georgetown, they were favored to win. They were incredible talent. They had the speed. They had you had the best center in the league with Patrick Ewing.
One again, Hall of Fame coach, John Thompson.
John Thompson.
Amazing coach.
They didn't win it. Ewing comes back for at least 2 more years. They do win it against, I think they beat Villanova. All right. And then there's a picture somewhere. I had it, a Sports Illustrated shot of John Thompson, Patrick Ewing with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan is this little guy right in the middle. Right. But what occurred to me was they didn't give up. They didn't give up. Same thing. What did Mama say? You can either get bitter or better.
Yep. That's a choice.
And they said, you know what? We're going to keep working it. We're going to keep finding a way. And they finally won the tournament as well 2 years later in '84. So, there's something to be said. But let's talk about Jordan, all right? So obviously it launches him. We watch him for the next 2 years in college basketball. He played 3 years at North Carolina. He gets drafted 3rd pick. We've already kind of gone through the picks. Barkley is the 4th. No, wait a minute.
Yeah, Barkley was 4.
Barkley was 5.
Perkins was 4.
Perkins, who was a better player initially 2 years earlier, is the 4th pick. All right. First of all, first pick was Akeem Olajuwon. All right. Phi Slamma Jamma, another great team that worked well together.
Gosh. Clyde Drexler.
All those guys. Amazing. And now, Portland struggled with that second pick. They thought they had somebody in there. They wanted the height. They're looking at the statistics, but they're not looking at the heart. And that's the difference. If you're an NBA manager, if you're picking whatever sport it is, look at the heart.
Have to.
If you're hiring for somebody, look at the heart. Because that's the difference between Olajuwon and Bowie.
Yeah.
That's the difference between, Jordan and everybody else. Heart.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's key.
Man, just look at some of those names from back then, and a lot of them are still involved in commentary and announcing and coaching. My gosh, a lot of these guys they just still in there being people of influence and all that experience-based knowledge and wisdom that they can bring back in. It just keeps getting better. Getting better.
It does. All right. So here's the other interesting tidbit that I thought. Jordan, they didn't know where he was going to land. They knew that he wasn't going to be number 1. They actually knew he wasn't going to be number 2. They knew he was great. Barkley out of Auburn was an interesting pick, number 5. But just think of it. What if Jordan had fallen to number 5? He would have been picked up by the Sixers. And the Sixers had an aging Dr. J, who was the prototype for Jordan, I think. Right? When you look at Jordan, you got to think of other players. And this is the important lesson here I wanted to talk about, is that no matter how good you are, how great you are, there was somebody before you that led the way, that shaped you, that prepared you. And maybe you're in a position, no matter where you're at, to be that person who's going to lead it for somebody else.
Yeah.
The baton has to be handed off. But can you imagine that, though? Sixers, instead of getting Barkley, they got Jordan.
Yeah, well, I can much more imagine the Blazers getting Jordan instead of Bowie. But yeah, I mean, that's why that's why they have a draft, right? And everybody's drafting for different reasons. But I love what you're saying. It's about heart. It's about chemistry. The intangibles, right, that they talk about all the time, the stuff you can't teach, the stuff you can't just practice and get better at. And obviously they saw something in Jordan, because, there's some good Perkins and Barkley. Those are pretty good additions to their teams as well. So they saw something in Jordan, and, he certainly fulfilled that. But he started off with some challenges, but you could watch his growth and just the team. Think about the team, his teammates when they won the championships. Man, they were at times really dysfunctional. When you think about, Dennis Rodman and Bill Cartwright and just a different group of people altogether, but somehow Jordan made them better, brought some unity into it, and look what they did, man. A whole bunch of championships.
Well, let's talk about the power of the coach then.
Yeah, Phil Jackson.
Right. So you had Dean Smith, power of the coach. Yeah. He brings in this freshman who's, not consistent. He did not have a good outside jumper, Jordan, initially. And here he made the game-winning shot with an outside jumper.
Practice.
All right. So you get a coach like Dean Smith. You get a coach like, who's the Chicago coach? Phil Jackson, who helped get Jordan straight, because Jordan was thinking, I'm the guy. No, you're a guy that's important right to this team. But if you want to be the guy, you got to get these other guys involved with what we're doing.
Yeah.
And when he did that, changed everything.
Yeah. I mean, they were, good grief, they were almost unbeatable. Like one year they were 72-10, 73-9, something like that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, man, in the NBA, that's a big deal. And it's just the leadership. I don't know, just take somebody special to bring that in. And you got to, you can have a great coach like Phil Jackson, but you also need that floor general. And Jordan was that guy, and it was an evolution for him. And now you look at, what he's doing, what he's done with business, the adversity he went through, the way he lost his father, which played into his retirement. Now he's part owner of Charlotte Hornets, and, he's making another move there, it sounds like, if you follow what's going on in the NBA world. So it's always something changing.
He's selling his majority ownership. He may hold minority. Word on the street, and of course, at the time of this recording, by the time we hear it, we'll know what the truth is. I know Magic Johnson is part of the bid for the Washington football team, and Jordan might be a part of that too. But who knows? We'll see.
Raising some capital.
We'll see. So here's the other interesting thing that I just realized. Jordan, a couple of those championships that he won with the Bulls, 6 of them. Can you imagine that?
No.
You're with one team and you win 6 times. Very few athletes. Tom Brady won how many times with New England?
6 with New England.
6 with New England.
Total, I think.
LeBron has won some games, but not the same team. All right. Shaq was won a few games, but not the same team. Right. Kobe stayed with the same team, but I don't know how many they won. 5 with him?
Not sure, but it sounds about right with Kobe.
So the point being is, here's Jordan. They get 6, but there are moments in those games where he is not the only guy. He's relying on other people around him, and he passes the ball off to John Paxson. There's one I remember very clearly.
Yeah.
He dishes it off to Paxson, who's sitting in the same corner that he was at when he was a freshman against the Hoyas, and Paxson drains that 3 and then win the game.
Paxson drained a lot of threes.
A lot. But he relies on him. And if you watch The Last Dance, he says, I learned to start trusting these guys. We trusted each other. Right. And that's important. That trust that you have with other people, and whatever you do, you've got to work to gain that trust and to maintain that trust. So what are a couple of thoughts that you have in terms of gaining trust and maintaining trust?
Wow. I think, when you're talking about not just basketball, but any sport, I think a big piece of this, and Jordan's talked about this a lot, is this idea of failure, right? So what's the easy way to equate this? Well, when you fail, then you're losing trust, right? Well, Jordan failed more than anybody at a lot of things. He talks about, I think he missed 9,000 shots. He missed, umpteen game-winning shots where they said, okay, MJ, you take the shot. And he missed like 26 or 27. Now you might think, well, that's not very many. Well, yeah, when you've got a, one score game at the end, somebody's going to get the ball, final seconds. That's a lot. It's a lot of failure. And yet, whatever was going on that court, whatever was going on in that locker room, those guys trusted each other. And those are the ones that stuck around. You look, that team was the core of that team. I know there was kind of the early Jordan and the later Jordan. The core of that team was, many of the same guys, and they trusted each other. And I think that's a big part in any team sport. You've got to have that. You've got to have that because I think it builds belief, right? If you feel like your teammates are doubting you, it's going to be your own self-limiting belief playing in, old gremlin on your shoulder. But when those guys are counting on you and they believe that you're going to come through for them, it's not going to happen all the time. It's sports, right? But I think you compound that throughout an entire team, an entire season. That played a lot into the results they got. And the guys that broke trust and didn't want to be part of that culture, well, they found themselves playing on another team or not playing at all. So, again, you look at the culture of the teams that win championships, and I think there's a lot to be said. It's not always about who has the best athletes. Now, I'm not saying the Bulls didn't have some pretty good athletes, but culture's important, and it starts with the leadership, right? So it takes a guy like Phil Jackson, who's an interesting character in himself. But he made the decisions when he was in charge, and he knew when to let the boys take care of it on the court. And I think it turned out pretty good for him. But that's that trust, for a coach to trust his team. Say, okay, guys, we need a bucket. Go out there and get it.
Yeah.
Rather than let it up on a chalkboard.
So the players have to trust the coach. The coach has to trust the players. And it's so important. First of all, I've seen teams where they don't trust the coach, and what happens to them? Right?
Not good.
They flame out.
Yep.
They don't go anywhere. Then when you see the players trust the coach, and the coach putting trust back into players, you see something coming together. That to me is differentiation.
Yeah.
But I think for each of us, this is beyond sports, that we need coaches in our life. Okay. Who's the coach that you have? Who's your Phil Jackson? Who's your Dean Smith? Who is somebody who believes in you, is helping shape a game plan for you, get clear on your vision, find that person that can help you on the plan, and work towards that. You're not going to get it perfect. You don't need to. But you can't do the solo. You need a team around you, which is, I think, important.
No, I love that. And a coach and a mentor, and I define them differently.
Yes.
They're both needed. In my book, they're both needed. That's why I love when I'm able to, fill one of those roles for the folks I work with, whether they're clients, friends, family, it doesn't matter. But there's so much power in the coaching lane. There's so much power in the mentoring lane. You could, and I don't know. I'm curious now. I was thinking about this earlier in the episode here. I don't know who Jordan has really pointed to as his mentors, when he was younger, right? And who inspired him and who he looked up to when he was playing, high school ball or even grade school. I know he had a basketball in his hand at an early age, but who were his hardwood heroes, if you want to call them that? There's I always like hearing those stories. What was it about those guys that inspired you?
Well, it's interesting. It's a great question. Who inspired? All right. So he's had a mentor in his dad. Obviously, he lost his dad. I do want to mention Tex Winters. I think that's his name. He was the mentor to Phil Jackson.
Okay. Wow.
Right. So Phil comes in the coach, but he brings in Tex. Tex comes up with the triangle offense.
Wow.
So Jordan will relate like, okay, he was sort of the mentor for all of us. I know that Jordan was inspired by his brother Larry, not Larry Bird, but Larry Jordan, older brother. So he would play basketball against him competitively in the yard, right? So when he didn't make that high school team, and his mom, like, you get bitter, you get better, your choice. He went to work it, and it was his brother that kind of helped lifted him. So he had that. I mean, everything. Again, I'm not going through Google here. I'll get my hands away from the keyboard, but I'd be interested to kind of explore that. Like,
Yeah.
wow, who stepped into him, right? There's always a
We'll bring
guide
it
in
back
someone's
in.
life.
We need to start making that a part of our conversations, because that's important. You
Yeah.
know, who was it who was it that initially inspired you, and then who really helped you? You know, who were your mentors? And we got some great names coming up in future episodes. And we're definitely going to have some answers to that question.
And I would have to think that our peers can be those guides, right? So when
Tell us the stories, man.
you got James Worthy and Sam Perkins on your team, and then you see them, at Dallas and the Lakers later. You know you're playing. You're still wearing UNC shorts underneath your Bull shorts.
Yeah.
And you're letting those guys know, hey, we're still a Tar Heel. So, yeah, pretty powerful. All right. So let's kind of give some thoughts for everybody, some tip and challenge on this. Again, great game. Go back, watch the YouTube video. We'll put some links in our notes. Just a phenomenal moment. But why is this a big game to you? And then what's the tip and challenge?
Yeah, I think it's a big game to me. You know, you made the selection, but when you brought that up, I'm like, oh yeah. And I think the memory, the impact for me really was the coaches, and probably more because I was a huge fan of John Thompson at Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
And just the way he he was just such a father figure to his players. Not that other coaches weren't, but that really hit home for me. I think the tip is, who just we were talking about a minute ago, who in your life is inspiring you, who in your life is your mentor, who in your life is your coach. We all need those people. You said it earlier, Paul. We can't accomplish great things by ourselves. We just can't. It's got to be somebody there, helping us, calling us out when we need it, holding us accountable, somebody we can turn to when we're jammed up and we just need some help, little inspiration, a little kick in the backside. Who are those people? And then I think my challenge would be to be that to someone. I think that, that's my challenge. Who are you mentoring? Who are you coaching? Who are you inspiring?
Yeah.
We're here to make a difference in people's lives. And if you're not, hey man, that's up to you. But I'll tell you this, anybody watching or listening to this episode, you've got the ability to do that. You've got the ability to inspire, to mentor, to coach. Don't take that away from somebody.
Yeah.
And don't take that away from somebody.
I love it. That's good. Yeah, I would share a couple of things here. First and foremost, you're either a guide or you're somebody on a path where you need a guide. All right. You're a guide. You get an opportunity to be a Phil Jackson or in this case, we're talking about the college championship and Dean Smith, somebody who can really speak into life, into others, believe in them, show them a way, create that plan, create that path, help them with that. Jordan won because another player passed him the ball and he took the opportunity. We have opportunities that come in front of us every single day. The question is are we taking the shot or are we passing that ball off? Maybe we're the person who needs to take that shot. Are we delaying our opportunity that we should take?
Well, it's confidence, right?
Yeah.
Again, confidence, trust, words we bring up all the time. I love the way how you're positioning this. So are you in a place where, you've got the confidence, you've got the trust, or your team or the people you work with? Look, this just doesn't have to be sports. This can be anything in life. This can be with your spouse, your significant other, your kids, your parents, right? There's always that trust and accountability and confidence everywhere in our lives. And so, what are you doing to either build those in your own life or instill those into others? This is just great conversation. I love where we're landing this.
Yeah. I just want to encourage folks, you're prepared for this moment. No matter what challenge you're facing, you are prepared for this. And, 3 years prior, maybe you didn't make the basketball team. And I'm using that from a figurative standpoint. Maybe you faltered and failed and you thought, well, I guess that's the end of the road. No, you got back up, keep going. And you got to the point where you can face that challenge straight on.
Yeah.
You can take that shot straight on and seize those moments, seize the opportunity, find that. And here's something interesting about Jordan. I went back and I looked at it. He wasn't just a high scorer, 30.1 points a game. That's pretty amazing.
Wow.
Right? It wasn't just that. He had 6.2 rebounds a game. That's pretty significant. He had 5 over 5, like 5.5 assists a game. Probably in some of the big games, he probably had more. I don't know.
Yeah.
But pretty significant for the guy that's supposed to just take the shot. He had 5 significant assists a game. He had over 2.3 steals a game. He was a defender. Yeah. And I love that aspect because it wasn't just a one-sided game. It was a full-rounded game, right? Fully involved, heart all in. So the tip and challenge is, are you all in? Is your heart all in? And I think at the end of the day, if we can say our heart was all in, then we can be satisfied no matter what the results were. We can say, you know what, my heart was all in. Then you can get back up and get ready for the next game. Because even Georgetown, they lost that game. And they didn't give up. Their heart was still in it. And so a couple of years later, they win that championship. And there's a lesson for all of us. No matter what struggle, what challenge we're facing, go all in, give it all you got, and find others around you.
Yeah, I love that. I know Jordan always prided himself on being an elite player at both ends of the court, and many greats can't say that. It might have been a great defender, might have been a great scorer, but they weren't necessarily that great on both ends like Michael was, and he worked hard to be that. That was important to him.
Yeah.
He didn't want to just be a guy who could score. He wanted to be able to shut guys down on the other end. So I love that, framing that up as all in, because, man, if there's anybody who was all in, it was definitely Jordan. But again, it goes to mindset. To me, it's mindset. Yeah, there's hard work, but even that's mindset. There was no quit in him, just no quit. He wouldn't accept it. It just wasn't part of his vocabulary.
It'd be curious, and I don't have it in front of me, but it'd be curious to see, like, before Phil Jackson and then after Phil Jackson, number of assists. Did it climb? Did it increase? How much more was it? But yeah, this is great. So, by the way, I just realized, Barry, I'm drinking Gatorade. I want to be like Mike. What's your favorite?
You do that. Well, you're a lot closer in stature to him than I am, so you got a better chance at it.
No, yeah. I used to pretend when I was a kid I was Dr. J playing in the courts. But so here's a question for you. All right. So Michael obviously was a commercial success. He had the McDonald's, great commercials, Larry Bird, him, nothing but net, right? You got that one. You've got the Air Jordans, right? It's the shoes, Mike. It's the shoes. You got the I want to be like Mike, Gatorade. And then, all right, so we got McDonald's. We got Jordan basketball shoes, Nike. And then we got Gatorade. And I'll throw one more. No, that's it. I was going to do he did a bunch of other ones like Hanes and all that. But those are the big 3. Which was your favorite of those 3?
If I remember right, and I can't remember who all it was, but wasn't it like him and Bird when they were like throwing the ball from up in the rafters at a stadium.
Yeah, it was a McDonald's. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be that one. I mean, just the fun stuff. I love watching the fun stuff today. Like I love watching Samuel L. Jackson, Spike Lee, and Barkley.
Yeah.
The guys are just funny. And Jordan had, he could flip a switch. He could be a funny, laughing guy, all kinds of stories of him out on the golf course. But man, when it came game time, it was business, even though he would have fun. And I had to personally witness that at times against the Blazers, and just, six threes in the first half.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it was he was a very personable guy, very serious, but he could have fun. As serious he was about the game of basketball, I think he really had fun playing it. And you don't always see that, especially in the top end athletes. You can just tell they're just wired different. And Jordan, he could just be that guy that, be whoever he wanted to be. And I think that was a big part of his success. Again, mindset, right?
Mindset.
He chose to be who he wanted to be at any given time. And, and there it was. We all got to see it. All been our generation, we got to witness all of that. Some younger folks, might be looking at YouTube and old reels and stuff, but we got to grow up watching him play. And
he set the bar for all of us.
He did.
But somebody else set the bar for him.
Yeah.
And who are we setting the bar for others?
I think that's my takeaway from this episode is, who are we inspiring? Who are we pouring into? So we need to be doing, man. Whether it's kids, it doesn't matter who it is. They all need it. Everybody needs that. And a lot more people are not getting it. And we can be those agents of change. And that's the tip and challenge, man. So listen, everybody, go out and find somebody. If you're not filling that void in somebody's life right now, there's somebody waiting for you. Go find them.
Amen. Yep. Guys, compete in life. Jordan is a big competitor, but it's all about stepping in, taking an opportunity that's right there. He had a phrase that they even named a book after, for the love of the game. I know they made a movie out of that for baseball. Kevin Costner, he stole that from Jordan. But really, it was his love of the game. That's what he came back after his father passed and he tried playing for the Barons in baseball. For the love of the game, he came back. And, let's step in there. Let's go with passion. Yeah. Let's get competitive. And in the sense of just stepping in and trying to make an impact, not to compete with other people, but just get hungry, heart all the way, 100% in. So, man, this has been a fun episode, man. I've enjoyed this.
Always.
Now I'm going to go watch some Jordan stuff. So I didn't tell you my favorite, right? I think I like the McDonald's basketball. Nothing but net.
Tough to beat.
But I mean, the shoes were fun too. With Spike Lee and all that, but I don't know. But I'll go with I'm sticking with the McDonald's. So you and I agree 100% on that one.
Now you got me to where I'm going to go. I'll probably spend the next hour when we get done here just looking at, Google, YouTube, Michael Jordan commercials and just be watching. And so now we got a couple of things. So now I can see where this is going now. If we're going to have, what's your favorite commercial with player X? And who inspired them? So, all right, we got to start doing our homework, brother. We got to bring it.
Hey guys, check us out on the breakingaverage.com website, and thank you for watching. And be a subscriber. Tell others about this podcast. And Barry, we got some great ones coming up, man. It's gonna be fun. So tune in, guys, and we cannot wait to dive in deeper with you guys.
Take care, everybody.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Breaking Average podcast. If you loved what you heard, please take a moment to subscribe. This show was produced by R Squared Multimedia. All opinions and comments expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and do not reflect the opinions or views of any of the advertisers, producers, or platforms. As you continue your day, What is one action that you can apply from this podcast to your life? Tune in for our next episode as we continue to challenge everyone to break average.
All right, get this mic. There we go. You want to start it?
No.
All right, here we go. 3, 2. Welcome to the Breaking Average podcast. I'm here with Barry Smith. We finally get to do this, man. This is going to be fun.
Real fun. George, man, he just
All right, good job, man.
something else.
That was fun.
That was good conversation. See, you always come.